Comrades, thanks to the treachery of Khrushchevite revisionism, the great and glorious Soviet Union, which gave so much to save the world from the scourge of fascism, is no more. Thanks to the same treachery, socialism is no more in the land of Lenin and Stalin. What Nazis with millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks and aircraft could not achieve through 4 years of the most devastating war against the land of the Soviets, the revisionists achieved almost without firing a shot. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the people of the former Soviet Union and people's democracies have been plunged into poverty, unemployment, homelessness, and a state of precarious existence. Since the disappearance of the Soviet Union, the population of Russia has declined by a precipitous 15 million, a mass extinction approaching the scale of the losses during the Second World War, and the biggest peacetime loss in any country ever. From this, the most important lesson to be drawn by international proletariat is that revisionism is its most deadly enemy. The bourgeoisie today it's not so confident now since the latest economic crisis, which has discredited the whole system of capitalism, which has discredited globalization, which has discredited the imperialist financial system. It's not so confident, but up to 3 years ago, they were very confident, saying Marxism is dead, it's out of date. The very same prostitutes who are, really intelligent people. They're not stupid people, but they become stupid because they are actually committed to be on the side of a system which is historically outmoded. So they write stupid things like Marxism is dead, and then the very next sentence says, the problem we have under capitalism is there is spare capacity. Understand spare capacity? They won't use, there's a battle even over terminology. I always tell my comrades, use the right terminology. Even terminology is the battleground. It's a crisis of overproduction. They'll never use the Marxist terminology, a crisis of overproduction. There's spare capacity. There's not sufficient demand. There are not many people to buy the goods that are produced. Well, adapting Shakespeare's beautiful saying, I'll say, a dung heap by any other name would stink just as much. In the 30s too, when the Hitlerites came to power in January 1933, it was said Marxism is dead. The German Nazis have destroyed socialism in Germany, and Marxism is dead. And it was none other than Stalin who said, it is said that in some countries in the West, Marxism has already been destroyed. It is said that it has been destroyed by the bourgeois nationalist trend known as fascism. That, of course, is nonsense, comrades. Only people who are ignorant of history can talk like that. Marxism is the scientific expression of the fundamental interests of the working class. To destroy Marxism, the working class must be destroyed. But it's impossible to destroy the working class. More than 80 years have passed since Marxism came into the arena. During this time, scores and hundreds of bourgeois governments have tried to destroy Marxism. And what has happened? Bourgeois governments have come and gone, but Marxism has remained. Moreover, Marxism has achieved complete victory on 1/6 of the globe. Moreover, it has achieved in the very country in which Marxism was considered to have been utterly destroyed. It cannot be regarded as an accident that the country in which Marxism has achieved complete victory is now the only country in the world which knows no crisis and unemployment, whereas in other countries, including the fascist countries, crisis and unemployment have been reigning for the 4 years. No, comrades, that is no accident. No, comrades, our successes are due to the fact that we worked and fought under the banner of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. Hence, the second conclusion, we must remain true to the great banner of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. The Soviet Union was gone precisely because the revisionists, after the takeover of the Soviet Union by Khrushchevites, departed from the banner of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. That's no fault of Marxism. In conclusion, comrades, there are certain things I myself, Ella Rule on many occasions, have read these things to you. So if you've heard them before, it will do you no harm. It will not do your political health any harm. So I'd like to reiterate them. What we need to do while we remember the great victories of the Soviet Union, while we remember the great feats and achievements of the Soviet Union and of Stalin. And this is what how we say. We impress on everybody the following point. First, that capitalism is a transitional stage in the long march of humanity from primitive communism to the higher stage of socialism, communism. In other words, capitalism is but a transitional system. In the long march of history, it is nothing more than a dot in the historical march of history. It's a transitional system. Secondly, capitalism long ago became a historically outmoded system owing to the conflict between the productive forces, which are social, and relation to production, private appropriation. This basic conflict lies at the heart of the current crisis of overproduction and the resultant misery of the working class. Three, that under the conditions of monopoly capitalism, capitalism has grown into a monstrous system of domination and exploitation by a handful of monopolist concerns within each of the imperialist countries and on a world scale by a tiny group of imperialist countries, which exploit, dominate, and oppress the overwhelming majority of humanity inhabiting the vast continents of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Four, that for reasons of the conditions peculiar to this stage of capitalism, imperialism cannot but result in incessant warfare waged by imperialist countries against the oppressed peoples. For instance, the current predatory wars of Anglo-American imperialism against the peoples of Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., and the inter-imperialist wars which have claimed the lives of 100 million people during the 20th century. Not so long ago, there's a sort of jumped up intellectual in America of Japanese origin, Francis Fukuyama. He pronounced the end of history. History had come to an end. And by that he meant the market system had won, Marxism was dead, there's no need to worry. You don't hear much of Francis Fukuyama anymore. We told at the time that Francis Fukuyama was talking nonsense, but nobody listened to us. Today, in the changed conditions, people do. The things we used to say and people used to look at us and stare at us for saying those are now actually able to listen to them. Next, socialism alone offers the way out of the contradictions of capitalism. It alone is able to offer humanity a world without crisis of overproduction, without unemployment, poverty and wars. Socialism alone is able to provide the conditions for a limitless increase in production, unending prosperity, fraternal cooperation, and peace among peoples and nations. Six, that capitalism itself creates the power, namely the proletariat, which alone is capable of putting an end to the anarchy of production and all other horrors of the capitalist system of production. Four, quotation, of all the classes that stand face to face with the bourgeoisie today, the proletariat alone is a really revolutionary class. Other classes decay and finally disappear in the face of modern industry. The proletariat is its special and essential product. This is the line from Communist Manifesto. Seven, that the struggle of the proletariat for the overthrow of capitalism must be led by the vanguard revolutionary party of the proletariat. No civil society movements, no amalgamation of Greens and peace activists and women's movements and student movement. No, it needs its general staff, and that general staff can only be the party of the proletariat. No army wins without a general staff, and working class cannot do without its own general staff. You may laugh at me for saying it, but I put it to you, in this country, if there is anything that vaguely resembles a general staff, it is our party. Bring the best elements of the British working class, young, old, and midday, to our party. Other parties may have the name communist as a part of their organization's name, but their practice leaves a lot to be desired. They are nothing but flunkies and hod carriers for social democracy. That's what they are.